Hello, I am NIT Stu, and you are watching the 2020 Virtual NIT Selection Show. First off, just want to say we hope that everybody is staying healthy out there. We hope that you're taking care of yourselves, taking care of those around you. It's not where we want to be right now. You're watching this on your phone, maybe your computer, probably your phone. I'm sitting in a stool that is much too low for this counter. The alternative was worse. Really, we're not where we want to be right now, and we recognize that, and we're trying to make the most of a tough situation. And one thing that we are doing here at the Barking Crow to help is conducting this virtual NIT so that everybody still gets that spiritual jolt that we all get every year from the NIT. My phone battery is low, your attention span is short, so we will get right to it and we will open up this bracket. I've got it sitting in front of me. Got some surprises, I'll tell you that. But before we start reading through the bracket, if you have not yet read the results of the simulated conference tournaments, if you haven't read our little selection show preview, that is available on the Barking Crow website if you wish to read it. It's at www.thebarkingcrow.com, and if you want to pause this, go read it, and then come back, we will be here waiting. Okay, in the top left corner of the bracket, we will have the #1 overall seed, that is Texas Tech. They will square off with Richmond. In the top right, another A10 team, conference foe of Richmond, that's Rhode Island, is another #1 seed, and Alabama will be in the bottom right. Again, we got these seedings from the other tournament selection show yesterday, so no surprises here, but this is how the bracket looks. Now let's get to it. In the top left bracket, the Texas Tech region. Texas Tech will be hosting Prairie View A&M in the opener. Prairie View A&M out of the Houston area. They are the SWAC champions. Winner of that game will play the winner of Minnesota and Notre Dame. Minnesota, a notable inclusion in the bracket. No sub-500 teams in the real NIT from 2017 to 2019 after, according to Wikipedia, the sub-500 rule was repealed. That rule had said that sub-500 teams were not admitted, but again, hadn't seen a sub-500 team in the field until this Minnesota one. So Minnesota is in. We'll see what that means for Georgetown, who was entering in a similar boat. On the other half of the bracket, we've got a good old-fashioned matchup in the Sooner State. Got some neighbors going at it. It is not Bedlam, but it's the next best thing. Oklahoma State hosting Tulsa. And out on the West Coast, Stanford will play host to Eastern Washington. Eastern Washington Eagles are the champions of the Big Sky Conference. Moving along now to the Richmond region. Richmond will be hosting North Carolina Central, the most NIT relevant school in Durham. NC Central was the MEAC champion in the regular season. They'll be traveling up to Richmond, and the winner of that game will play the winner of NC State and South Carolina. I-95 getting a lot of traffic in those Carolinas this week. Hope for smooth driving for everybody out there. On the other half, Mississippi State hosting Arkansas Little Rock. Now, Arkansas Little Rock coming in as a 6 seed is interesting here. Little Rock was expected by many to be a 7, and what this probably means, knowing that there are 10 automatic bids, seeing Northern Iowa down at the other end there at the 2 seed, having it down to just 4 remaining at this point, is that those 4 are going to be on the 7 and 8 lines, and that means Stephen F. Austin is most likely a 7 seed. We'll see what that means for their first round opponent seeding. Looking at it personally, not to get too in the weeds, but knowing some distances between schools, this was probably a geographic decision by the NIT committee. Arkansas Little Rock, probably a natural 7, bumped up to a 6 here so they could drive to Mississippi State instead of flying. Stephen F. Austin, presumably bumped down to a 7. Would guess that their first round opponent is Texas, but we will see how that turns out. And closing out this region, Northern Iowa will be playing host to Wright State. They weren't the best team in Dayton this year, but they're the one with a shot at winning the NIT. In the top right-hand corner, the Rhode Island region. Rhode Island will be playing host to Siena, the Siena Saints, champions of the MAC this year. And whoever wins that game, they'll be playing someone orange because Syracuse is going down to Rocky Top to play Tennessee. Rick Barnes, Jim Boeheim, what more could you want in the year 2005? St. John's will be hosting Georgia. St. John's, we all know, has won the most NITs in history. They get another shot here. And Georgia, a surprise team in the field. They did put in a nice performance in Nashville in the SEC tournament. Committee evidently liked what they saw. Georgia in the field as a 6 seed. The winner of that one might as well just stay in the New York area, because they're either going to be playing Rutgers down in Piscataway or Colgate up in Hamilton, New York, I believe is where Colgate's at. I believe that's somewhere near Albany, but it may be closer out to the Finger Lakes there. Either way, could get a lot of old Big East teams in action between Syracuse, St. John's, and Rutgers in this region. Now our final region, we're looking at the Alabama region in the bottom right, and you'll notice we've left a team blank there. That is the last team into the field on the bottom side. We already know that Texas Tech was the last team in on the top side, narrowly making it happen. On the bottom side, we will get to that team, but first, Alabama will be hosting Radford. Alabama, you may recall, lost as a 1 seed in the first round last year to Norfolk State. Those upsets are rare. We'll see if they can get through the first round this time. If they do, we may see something that's familiar. Alabama playing Clemson, but also could have Furman in that slot. Furman and Clemson, even closer than Oklahoma State and Tulsa. So this is a really, really close geographic matchup there up by Greenville, South Carolina. Again, we will skip past UConn, but note them as a 3 seed. And there is Texas and Stephen F. Austin. As we guessed, Texas the 2 seed, Stephen F. Austin the 7. Now the last team in the field, you may be wondering who it is. I'm wondering who it is. Actually, I'm not. I've seen it. I've got it on this sheet of paper, which hopefully you can't see. Hopefully we set up that camera right and we don't have to retape this. But who's it going to be? Is it going to be Georgetown again? Sub 500 got some injuries. Is it going to be UCLA out of the Pac-12? Some have been saying Oregon State deserves it more, also out of the Pac-12. Better non-conference slate. Finished the season better. Oregon State, you may remember, beat Utah in reality before losing to Oregon. UCLA lost to Cal in what wasn't reality. And some are saying UNC Greensboro for that last spot. We know that they bowed out early in the SoCon tournament, but Furman getting the 4 seed is arguably a good sign for NC Greensboro, of course, due to bracketing principles. We already know they're not in there, but we'll just ignore that piece. The final team, the final at-large bid for the 2020 virtual NIT is going to UCLA. Mick Cronin, in his first year at the helm, does have a chance to win the NIT, the virtual NIT. We'll see where it goes. We'll see where all of this goes, and we will see you along the way. If you would like to follow along with the virtual NIT, we will have every minute of coverage at www.thebarkingcrow.com. Times of the first games, which will be on Tuesday, will be announced tomorrow. So first games Tuesday, times to be announced. If you would like to participate in the bracket challenge, we will have links up on that shortly, along with the rules. Believe that the prize for that is going to be a Milk Time pint glass and a sticker, but we'll see. Might get a t-shirt in there too. Who knows? I think that's it, guys. Thank you so much for making us a part of your day. We know that you have a ton of time at your disposal right now, or most of you do. Apologies to those who don't, but most of you have a lot of time at your disposal, and we're glad that you at least spent a little bit of it here with us. So thanks, everyone. Stay safe out there. Remember, take care of yourself, but as important, take care of others, take care of society, be smart. You're not invincible, and yeah, I'm just gonna start rambling if I keep going down that path. So enjoy the virtual NIT. We'll be seeing you soon. Thanks, everyone.